You know, today we're not just going to talk about a disease in the way you might think. We're actually diving into a story of rebellion, a mutiny, happening right inside our own bodies. This is the story of cancer, what I like to call the outlaw cell.
All right, so let's get right into it. To really get a grip on this whole rebellion idea, we got to ask a super basic question, right? What actually happens when one, just one, of the trillions of cells that make us who we are decides to go completely rogue and just break all the rules?
So where does it all begin? Well, it starts with a complete breakdown in law and order. The first chapter of this story takes us deep, deep inside the cell, to its very instruction manual, its genetic code. But in this case, the code's been corrupted.
I want you to picture your body for a second, not as just, flesh and bone, but as this bustling city, this perfectly organized society. And every single cell is a citizen with a job to do. They all follow a really strict set of laws, and these laws are written right into their DNA. They tell them when to grow, when to divide, and this is the super important part, when to stop.
And at the heart of it, the system that controls this whole cellular society is surprisingly simple. It really boils down to two key types of genes that manage everything. You've got your proto-oncogenes. Think of these as the gas pedal. They're the ones saying, all right, time to grow. Then you have the tumor suppressor genes. And yep, you guessed it, these are the brakes. They're the ones that say, whoa, slow down, or okay, stop completely. So cancer, it's what happens when this elegant system has a catastrophic failure. Imagine this, a mutation comes along and jams that gas pedal to the floor. The proto-oncogene becomes this hyperactive oncogene that's just screaming, grow, 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 nonstop. At the same time, what if the brakes just gave out, completely failed? That means the cell literally loses its ability to stop dividing. And in a lot of cancers, it's the absolute worst-case scenario, a disastrous combination of both.
And hey, these aren't just some abstract ideas. We actually know the names of these genetic troublemakers. You've got oncogenes like Mike and Ross. These guys are notorious for being those stuck gas pedals. And then you have the tumor suppressors, like the famous P53. People call it the guardian of the genome, and RB. These are the critical brake systems that, when they fail, well, it really spells trouble.
But here's a twist. The corruption isn't always an inside job. Sometimes, this cellular rebellion gets a helping hand from an outside accomplice, someone who comes in and just completely hijacks the system.
And that's exactly where viral oncogenes come into play. See, some viruses, like HBV, they act like master criminals. They can sneak into a host cell. And what's their primary mission? To disable the security system. They literally go in and target and shut down those critical P53 and RB brake systems. Once those are gone, the cell has absolutely no way to stop itself from growing.
Okay, so let's recap. The cell's code is now corrupted. It's dividing like crazy. But to become a truly dangerous outlaw, it needs to pull off two more huge feats. It has to learn how to cheat death, and it has to plan its great escape.
You see, our bodies have this incredibly elegant built-in safety protocol. It's called apoptosis. The best way to think about it is as a self-destruct program. Whenever a cell gets damaged or starts acting up, this program is supposed to kick in, forcing the cell to just eliminate itself cleanly and safely before it can cause any real harm.
So here's the bottom line, right? For a cancer cell to actually succeed, to survive and thrive, it has to figure out a way to shut down this self-destruct sequence. It has to learn how to cheat death. It has to become, for all intents and purposes, immortal. And you know what? They've got a specific trick up their sleeve to do it. What they do is they start pumping out these proteins that literally block the self-destruct command. One of the most famous ones is a protein called BCL2. You can just imagine it inside the cell, constantly shouting, "Don't die, keep going." It basically makes the cell completely deaf to its own safety alarms.
So once our outlaw cell has achieved immortality, it's ready for its final and most devastating act, metastasis. This is it. This is the great escape. This is where the cell breaks free from its original location to go set up new criminal outposts, new franchises in distant parts of the body.
And this escape plan, it's not random. It's a pretty methodical, three-step heist. First step, lose adhesion. The cell literally cuts its ties with all its neighbors by switching off these sticky molecules, like one called E-cadherin. Step 2, breach defenses. It starts releasing these enzymes, they're called MMPs, that act like chemical drills, just dissolving the physical barriers that are holding it in place. And finally, step 3, travel and invade. The cell slips into the bloodstream or the lymph system, using them like highways to reach and colonize brand new territories.
Now, for a long, long time, this story, it seemed pretty bleak, right?
But here's the good news. The entire narrative is changing. We are entering a brand new chapter in this fight, one where we get to turn the body's own defenders into the heroes of the story. See, here's the thing we can't forget. The body is not helpless. It has its own powerful, incredibly sophisticated army already on patrol, the immune system. And the absolute revolution that's happening in cancer treatment right now, it's all about figuring out how to command that army, how to give it the right orders to win the fight. And that, right there, is the core idea behind immunotherapy. It's a total game changer. Instead of poisoning the cancer from the outside with things like chemotherapy, the whole approach is to empower our internal defenses. We're basically training the body's own police force to finally recognize these outlaw cells and take them out with incredible precision.
So how do we do it? Well, one of the main ways is by using these incredible tools called monoclonal antibodies, and there are two main tactics. The first is a direct attack. We design antibodies like anti-CD20 to basically act like homing beacons. They go out, find the cancer cells, stick to them, and mark them for destruction. The second tactic is unleash the guards. See, cancer's clever. It uses signals to put the brakes on our immune cells. Well, checkpoint inhibitors, like anti-PD-1 drugs, block those signals. They literally release the brakes on our T cells, letting them finally go on the attack at full force.
Okay, so releasing the brakes on our immune cells is amazing. It's a huge step. But what if we could do more? What if we could take our regular immune cells and turn them into bioengineered super soldiers?
Well, that's not science fiction anymore. That is the incredible concept behind CAR T-cell therapy, and it is nothing short of revolutionary. We literally take a patient's own T-cells, their immune soldiers, out of their body, and in a lab, we genetically re-engineer them into elite special ops cancer hunting specialists.
So, how does this work? It's like building a custom cancer hunter. First, you isolate. You collect a patient's T-cells right from their blood. Second, you engineer. In the lab, these cells get a major upgrade. They're equipped with something called a chimeric antigen receptor, or CAR for short. This CAR is like a high-tech GPS and targeting system programmed to lock onto that patient's specific cancer. And finally, you reinfuse. These millions of newly empowered hunter cells are returned to the patient's body, ready for their mission.
And the result? It's just astonishing. You've essentially turned the patient's own defenses into a living, breathing, precision-guided weapon, a medicine that actively patrols the body, hunting down and eliminating those outlaw cells, no matter where they're hiding.
And that brings us to a final, pretty mind-blowing thought. We started this whole thing with the story of a cellular rebellion, and we've ended it with the story of creating a highly intelligent, bioengineered defense force. So as we master this art, the art of training our own immune system to fight our toughest battles, you just have to wonder, right? What could be next on its target list?